Rain danced lightly on the slick neon pavements of Seoul, as if the city itself were holding its breath. Beneath the veil of umbrellas and flashing LED signs, a figure moved with quiet elegance. A man in a wide-brimmed fedora, long trench coat brushing against his boots, eyes hidden behind amber-tinted glasses. It was Johnny Depp, in town under the guise of attending an international film festival. But his true purpose was far from public. As he turned into a dimly lit alley behind the Grand Meridian Hotel, a whisper followed him, a voice laced with poison and curiosity. "Mr. Depp," the voice said, calm as a blade, "I believe you've been looking for us." Johnny paused mid-step, his reflection fractured on the rain-slick ground. A man in a red-tailored suit stood across from him, no face visible, just a sleek black mask with a silver circle etched at its center. "I don't play games," Johnny said, barely above a whisper. "But you do love justice," the masked man replied. From his inner pocket, the man extended a black envelope, embossed with a gold emblem. Johnny took it, slowly. His fingers hesitated for a beat before breaking the seal. Inside, a single red card and a note that read, "This time the game is global, and you've already been chosen." The hotel room was bathed in amber glow, curtains drawn tightly against the city's noise. Johnny sat alone, the red card and note laid carefully on the glass table in front of him. His fingers trembled slightly, not from fear, but memory. He had seen this before. Not in fiction, not on TV, but in whispers, rumors exchanged behind closed doors of film sets and charity galas. Whispers of missing artists, debt-ridden producers who vanished without a trace. And always the same symbol. He lit a cigarette with his signature silver lighter, the flame catching the edge of the red card briefly, too briefly to destroy. He couldn't look away. His mind drifted to Ella, a young makeup artist he'd met weeks ago. She told him her brother had gone to an audition in Busan and never returned. She'd wept behind a curtain, trembling as she showed him a photo of the same red card. Johnny had felt the chill then, but now it was burning in his hands. Suddenly, the room lights flickered. The hotel TV turned on by itself. No sound, just a slow zoom into an image. A single chair in a dark room, surrounded by shadows. Then, a distorted voice over the room's speaker system. "We know you seek the truth, Mr. Depp. But what if the truth is a game you cannot win?" He stood slowly, his voice cold but measured. "Then I'll break the rules." In the reflection of the window, the masked recruiter stood behind him again. Only this time he wasn't alone. Two others, one with a triangle, one with an X, and in Johnny's chest, the storm of purpose began to rise. They blindfolded him before dawn. Johnny didn't resist. He was led through what felt like endless turns, marble underfoot, metal stairs, humid passages. The city's noise disappeared, replaced by a mechanical hum that vibrated deep in his bones. The air changed, damp, recycled, with a hint of antiseptic and metal. Underground. The blindfold slipped off. He stood in a narrow red-lit corridor, ceiling low, walls padded with strange geometric patterns. Dozens of CCTV cameras blinked silently above. At the end of the hallway, a steel door slid open, revealing a cold room of concrete and silence. Inside, a child's chair, a table with one photograph, a girl, Ella's brother, bound and gagged, bruises on his face. A voice came through the intercom. "He is not a player. He is a pawn. But pawns can be traded for kings." The recruiter stepped into the room, unmasked now. A young Korean man with calm eyes and a voice as smooth as silk. "We want you, Mr. Depp, as a wild card. Our first celebrity player." Johnny didn't flinch. He looked at the photo, then at the silent camera in the ceiling. "You hide behind masks. I've worn them all my life, but I still know who I am. Do you?" Silence. Then the recruiter chuckled, darkly. "Very well. You will play. Not for money, but for someone else's freedom." Johnny stepped forward, close enough to feel the tension in the air shift. "No, I'll do more than play. I'll rewrite your ending." The recruiter's smile faded. The room began to rotate. A hidden door opened, and the game had begun. The lights snapped on with blinding force. Johnny blinked hard, adjusting to a vast arena that felt like a fever dream. A towering space painted in surreal pastels, with staircases leading nowhere and giant geometric shapes hanging mid-air. It looked like a child's playroom built by a sadist with infinite money. There were 27 other players, ordinary people. A few twitchy, a few already trembling. None recognized Johnny. He had been disguised by a scarred latex mask and a drab uniform with the number 228 printed on the back. Then came the voice. Robotic, echoing. Welcome to round 1, reflections. Stand before the mirror. Tell the truth or disappear. Mirrors descended from the ceiling, one for each contestant. Johnny stepped forward, staring at a warped, reflective surface. But what he saw was not himself. It was him, but from years ago, eyes hollow, hands shaking, his lowest moment, when the headlines called him a monster, when the world abandoned him. And then the mirror spoke, his voice. Who are you without your fame? Without the costumes? The fans? Just a man with regrets and a bottle. Johnny's breath caught. All around, screams erupted. One by one, players vanished in flashes of light as they failed to answer. The mirror pressed on. Confess. He took a deep breath. Then he spoke. I am not perfect. I have fallen. I've hurt. I've lost. But I kept walking. Because somewhere out there, someone still believes in me. And I won't let them down. The light behind his mirror turned green. He passed. 16 others did not. Ella's brother was still in the game, and the next round would be blood. Johnny's knees buckled as he reached the halfway mark. His body screamed. The extra weight strapped to him was no mistake. It was a message, a punishment, a challenge. The field was littered now with silence and stillness, bodies frozen mid-motion, some lifeless, some just paralyzed by fear. The ground was sticky with blood masked by fake turf. The air smelled of sweat, fear, and gunpowder. Red light. He dropped into a crouch just in time. A tremble in his left leg. He caught it in time. But others weren't so lucky. 2 girls, one in her 20s, screamed as a shot rang out. Only one scream ended. Johnny exhaled, slow, controlled. A memory flashed, his daughter Lily Rose, giggling in a playground years ago. The sound had anchored him through his worst nights. He wasn't here for money. He wasn't here for redemption. He was here for someone else's future. Green light. He moved. Fast. Dangerous. Cheol Sue's eyes blinked erratically. The doll's gaze followed him, almost too intelligently. And just as he reached the final stretch, red light, he slipped. Time stopped. Even the birds in the painted sky seemed to hold their wings. But he didn't fall. A hand reached out. Ella's brother, barely conscious but awake, pressed his palm against the cage bars. Their eyes met. That was enough. The light turned green one last time. Johnny crossed the line. The game ended, and the cage opened. But what he didn't know was this. The next round wasn't a game. It was a choice. Johnny sat alone in a velvet chair beneath a chandelier of sculpted bone and gold. The air here was cooler, like a museum, like a tomb. A masked waiter poured wine into a crystal goblet. He didn't touch it. Around him sat the VIPs, wealthy, faceless spectators in golden masks shaped like animals. A lion, a raven, a goat, a serpent. They lounged behind tinted glass, their laughter muted but ever present, all watching him. The recruiter reappeared, this time in a pure white suit. No mask. A smile that reeked of control. Congratulations, he said. You survived the showcase. What happens now? Johnny asked, voice hoarse. Now you choose. The recruiter snapped his fingers. 2 screens lit up on the wall. Left, Ella's brother in a hospital bed, heart monitor beeping. Alive. Safe for now. Right. A live feed of a new game site in Los Angeles. A warehouse being retrofitted with giant playground props. Men in red jumpsuits walking in formation. One choice. Walk away now and the boy lives. Or join us and oversee the launch of Squid Game. America. You want me to be your puppet? Johnny said, his voice rising. No, we want you to be our star. A long silence. Then Johnny stood. Slowly, deliberately. He picked up the wine glass and stared into its reflection. You brought me here to entertain monsters. But I've danced with devils before. So I'll give you a show they'll never forget. He hurled the goblet into the screen. The glass shattered. The room went black. And from the shadows a plan was already forming. Johnny wasn't walking away. He was going deeper. Welcome to round 4, the Tower of Choice. The voice echoed across the artificial canyon, where players stood at the base of a 10-story scaffolding of steel and glass. Each level held a door. Behind each door, a consequence. Some offered survival, others suffering. Johnny stood among the guards, motionless. But inside, his mind raced. The recruiters had taken children this time. Not just teens, actual children, paired with adults, forced to choose who climbed higher. Only one could survive past level 6. It wasn't a game anymore. It was a ritual of cruelty. The girl from earlier, the one who whispered to Johnny, was paired with the boy. She was shaking. He was already crying. The recruiter stood above them all on a balcony like a Roman emperor, his smile cold. "Let's make the stakes clearer," he boomed. "If no one climbs, both will fall. You have 60 seconds. The girl stepped forward, but Johnny moved before she could. In one swift motion, he ripped off his mask, revealing his face to hundreds of hidden cameras. Gasps echoed from behind screens. "This ends now," he shouted. "This isn't entertainment. It's murder dressed in neon." Guards reached for weapons, but before they could act, boom, the side of the hangar exploded. Dust, fire, screams. A group of activists, SWAT-trained and led by Johnny's outside contact, stormed in with stun guns, smoke bombs, and a single mission: rescue. Broadcast. Expose. Johnny ran to the boy, shielding him with his coat. The recruiter screamed into his mic, "Cut the feed. Cut the feed." But it was too late. The live stream had already been hacked, broadcast to millions across the globe. Phones lit up. Social media caught fire. The truth of Squid Game's revival was out, and in the middle of it all, Johnny stood, arms outstretched, protecting the innocent. He didn't look like a washed-up actor. He looked like a legend. The desert wind howled outside as sunrise bled across the Mojave horizon, casting golden light over the scorched ruins of the Squid Game facility. Smoke curled lazily into the sky. Helicopters circled above, and news vans lined the dirt road like modern-day messengers of truth. Johnny stood on the edge of the crumbling entrance ramp, his long coat fluttering, face streaked with sweat, dust, and the ash of war. Behind him, survivors, children, mothers, broken men, huddled in blankets. Their eyes held pain but also hope. A female reporter stepped forward, microphone trembling in her hand. "Mr. Depp, what made you risk your life for this?" He looked at her. No smirk, no rehearsed line, just truth. Because stories shape the world, and some stories should never be forgotten. He turned, slowly walking away as the crowd parted like waves before him. Behind him, the boy he'd saved, the one with the frightened eyes, ran to him, clutched his hand, didn't say a word, just held it. That was enough. 2 weeks later, the footage went viral. The phrase, "Depp exposes Squid Game," trended for 73 consecutive hours. Netflix denied involvement. Governments scrambled. The masks were banned in 3 countries. An investigation was launched across 5 continents. Anonymous donors funded recovery for the survivors. And Johnny, he disappeared. Some said he returned to France. Others claimed he was in hiding, preparing to testify at the World Human Rights Court. But one rumor spread fastest, that he had joined a new group, a quiet resistance, tracking down the remaining Squid Game factions across the globe. No longer a player, no longer a pawn, but a storyteller with a sword. One final message appeared in blood-red text across a hacked Squid Game server, just before it was shut down forever. This time, the game lost.